The INFP personality type is often described as one of the most emotionally deep, imaginative, and internally driven personality types in the world of personality psychology. The letters INFP stand for introverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. These four letters come from the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator System, which was inspired by the psychological theories of Carl Jung. The I in INFP means introverted. This does not simply mean shy or antisocial. It means INFPs recharge internally. Their energy comes from solitude, reflection, imagination, and deep thought. Too much external stimulation can drain them quickly, especially if it feels shallow or emotionally disconnected. The N stands for intuitive. INFPs naturally focus more on meaning, possibilities, patterns, ideas, and emotional undercurrents than on surface-level facts. They're often less interested in what is and more interested in what could be. Their minds constantly connect ideas, emotions, dreams, symbols, and future possibilities together. The F means feeling. INFPs make decisions primarily based on personal values, emotional truth, and human impact rather than pure logic or efficiency. This does not mean they are irrational. In many cases, INFPs are extremely thoughtful, but their decisions usually pass through an inner emotional filter first. They want things to align with what feels morally right and emotionally authentic. The P stands for perceiving. This reflects a more flexible, open-ended, adaptable approach to life. INFPs usually dislike feeling trapped, controlled, or overly structured. They often prefer freedom over rigid systems. Their minds like exploring possibilities instead of forcing everything into strict plans too early. If you want to truly understand yourself as an INFP, the INFP Playbook will help you gain the clarity, direction, and self-understanding you've been searching for. Check the link in the video description. People often call INFPs dreamers, idealists, or mediators, but these labels only scratch the surface. The inner world of an INFP is incredibly rich, complex, emotional, and alive. Many INFPs spend a large part of their lives feeling misunderstood because most of what drives them happens internally. From the outside, they may appear quiet, calm, or reserved. But inside, their minds are constantly active with imagination, emotions, ideas, reflections, fantasies, memories, and deep questions about life. One of the first things people notice about INFPs is their emotional depth. INFPs do not experience emotions lightly. They feel things intensely, even when they do not show it outwardly. A simple conversation, a song, a movie scene, a memory, or even a passing comment can stay with them for years. They absorb emotional experiences deeply and often replay them internally long after everyone else has moved on. Because of this emotional depth, INFPs are usually highly empathetic. They naturally pick up on emotional energy around them. Even when nobody says anything directly, many INFPs can sense tension, sadness, dishonesty, loneliness, or emotional pain beneath the surface. This ability often makes them compassionate listeners and emotionally safe people to talk to. Others may feel strangely understood around them. At the same time, this emotional sensitivity can become exhausting. INFPs often struggle with emotional overwhelm because they absorb so much internally. Harsh criticism, conflict, rejection, or emotional coldness can affect them more deeply than people realize. Even when they appear calm externally, internally they may be replaying conversations for days, analyzing every word in emotional detail. Another defining trait of the INFP personality is idealism. INFPs usually carry a strong inner vision of how life, relationships, humanity, and even society should be. They want authenticity, depth, honesty, kindness, meaning, and emotional connection. They are not satisfied with empty routines or superficial interactions. They want life to feel real. This is why many INFPs struggle in environments that feel emotionally dead, overly corporate, manipulative, or fake. They often feel emotionally disconnected in systems that prioritize productivity over humanity. Many INFPs can tolerate difficult work, but what drains them most is meaningless work. If they cannot emotionally connect to what they are doing, their motivation slowly disappears. INFPs are often driven by meaning more than status. While many people chase money, power, popularity, or recognition, INFPs are usually searching for something deeper. They want purpose. They want emotional fulfillment. They want to feel connected to something genuine. This is why many INFPs are drawn toward creative fields, psychology, writing, counseling, art, music, humanitarian causes, storytelling, spirituality, teaching, or anything that allows emotional expression and authenticity. Creativity is often a huge part of the INFP personality. Their imagination is naturally vivid. Many INFPs spend enormous amounts of time daydreaming, imagining alternate realities, replaying conversations, creating fictional worlds, exploring ideas, or visualizing possibilities for their future. Their imagination is not just entertainment for them. It is part of how they emotionally process life. This is why many INFPs are naturally talented writers, artists, musicians, filmmakers, poets, or storytellers. They often have a unique ability to express emotional experiences in ways that deeply affect other people. Even when they struggle to explain themselves verbally in everyday conversations, they may express themselves beautifully through creative outlets. However, the same imagination that makes INFPs creative can also make life difficult. Many INFPs struggle with overthinking. Their minds constantly analyze possibilities, emotions, meanings, and future outcomes. They may imagine ideal futures, but struggle with execution in the real world. Sometimes they become trapped between imagination and action. This creates one of the biggest internal battles for many INFPs. They often have huge dreams, powerful ideas, and deep passions, but turning those dreams into consistent external action can feel overwhelming. Real life feels slower, messier, and more disappointing than the ideal world inside their minds. Because of this, many INFPs battle procrastination, self-doubt, inconsistency, or feelings of being stuck. Perfectionism also affects many INFPs more than people realize. Even though they may appear relaxed externally, internally they often hold themselves to impossible emotional standards. They want their work to perfectly represent their inner vision. If reality does not match that vision, they may become discouraged quickly. This is why some INFPs start projects passionately but struggle to finish them. They become emotionally attached to the ideal version in their minds, and reality rarely feels good enough compared to that inner vision. Sometimes they would rather delay action than create something that feels emotionally imperfect. Relationships are another area where the INFP personality becomes especially intense. INFPs usually crave deep emotional intimacy. Small talk and surface-level connections often leave them feeling emotionally empty. They want conversations about dreams, fears, emotions, meaning, identity, growth, and the human experience itself. When INFPs truly care about someone, they often love very deeply. They can be extremely loyal, supportive, emotionally attentive, and understanding partners or friends. They often remember small emotional details that others forget. They genuinely want to understand the inner world of the people they love. But relationships can also become painful for INFPs because their expectations are often emotionally high. They may idealize people too quickly or imagine emotional depth that is not actually there. Sometimes they fall in love with potential instead of reality. When reality eventually disappoints them, the emotional crash can feel devastating. INFPs also tend to hide large parts of themselves emotionally. Even though they crave deep connection, they're often afraid of being misunderstood, rejected, or emotionally exposed. As a result, many INFPs spend years feeling lonely even while surrounded by people. One of the biggest misconceptions about INFPs is that they are weak because they are emotional. In reality, many INFPs are emotionally resilient in ways people underestimate. They often survive enormous emotional pain internally while continuing to function outwardly. Their emotional depth gives them a strong sense of compassion, endurance, and humanity. If you want to truly understand yourself as an INFP, the INFP Playbook will help you gain the clarity, direction, and self-understanding you've been searching for. Check the link in the video description. Another misconception is that INFPs are always soft or passive. While they usually avoid unnecessary conflict, they can become surprisingly fierce when something violates their deeply held values. When an INFP believes someone vulnerable is being mistreated or something morally wrong is happening, they can become intensely passionate and determined. INFPs are also highly individualistic. Most do not like blindly following trends, social expectations, or group thinking. They usually want to discover their own identity and live according to their own values. This can make them feel different from others very early in life. Many INFPs grow up feeling like outsiders. They may feel emotionally too much for some environments and not enough for others. They often sense that they see life differently from the people around them. This feeling of emotional separation can lead to loneliness, but it can also become a source of creativity, wisdom, and self-awareness later in life. As INFPs mature, they often become more grounded. Younger INFPs may spend years lost in fantasy, emotional confusion, or self-doubt. But with life experience, many begin learning how to balance their imagination with action. They slowly realize that their sensitivity is not a weakness, but a strength that needs direction and boundaries. Healthy INFPs often become deeply inspiring people. They bring emotional depth into a world that often values superficiality. They remind people of compassion, meaning, authenticity, creativity, and humanity. They often help others feel seen emotionally in ways that are difficult to explain. At their best, INFPs are capable of combining empathy with vision, creativity with depth, and sensitivity with quiet strength. They may not always dominate rooms loudly, but they often leave lasting emotional impact on the people they encounter. The INFP personality is not simply about being emotional or introverted. It is about living from the inside out. It is about being driven by meaning, guided by values, fueled by imagination, and constantly searching for something real in a world that often feels artificial.